12 anos ele saiu de estagiário no White House, né, na Casa Branca, e nesse período de tempo ele fundou uma empresa assim, muito bacana lá nos Estados Unidos chamada Pool Tables, e nessa empresa ele teve muito sucesso, ele se tornou o maior vendedor de mesas de sinuca nos Estados Unidos, tá? E depois disso ele foi para Harvard, também fez um MBA em Harvard, e a gente vai entender o porquê dessa decisão. E assim, a gente também vai ouvir um pouquinho da história dele, de como que ele veio para o Brasil, porque como americano, que já estava fazendo sucesso nos Estados Unidos, veio para o Brasil e abriu uma empresa maravilhosa, também grande, que é a baby.com.br, que hoje é um dos maiores e-commerces do Brasil. Então eu convido aqui para falar comigo o Kimball Thomas.
Estou aprendendo a falar português, mas eu prefiro falar em inglês, então desculpe por isso.
No worries. So tell us about your background, where you're from, your family.
Yeah, so I was born in Seattle, Washington, and actually lived there for about 8 years while I was growing up. We also lived in Southern California, but I usually just say I'm from Utah. And Utah is where the 2002 Olympic Games were. So the Winter Olympic Games were in Salt Lake City, Utah, 10 years ago. Anyway, that's where I lived. That's where I lived for about 10 years. Well, let's see. Rafael gave me a nice intro. I did do a White House internship. That was a long time ago. It was actually the Clinton administration. And so
what did you do there?
Well, I did what interns do, which is I made a lot of copies. It was a unique opportunity because back then I was in the West Wing, and the White House is not really that big of a place, and so for a young person to be in the West Wing was it was very formative. It was a very meaningful experience, and so I saw a lot of amazing people. I really got a sense for what happens on what I would call a big stage, and the people who are making decisions, the people who are in the newspapers. I was seeing these people, and so I kind of got a little taste of the Washington D.C. scene, and I really liked it, and I think that affected some of my interests.
And was it, like, as you said, it was meaningful, yeah, for you? And did you apply any principles that you learned there in your entrepreneur life?
Yeah, I mean, I think I actually, this may sound a little bit cliche because Steve Jobs has been such an overworked theme in entrepreneurship, but I came across a video a little while ago that of Steve Jobs. It's 1 minute, and he said, listen, the moment things really change is when you realize that the world is just the result of decisions people have made, and you can actually change it. You don't have to do things just because they were done a certain way. And I think seeing people in the White House kind of gave me the sense that, hey, these are just people, like the rest of us, doing stuff. And you can actually have a big impact in your own sphere as well, and you're only limited by your own view of yourself. And so I think the more you view yourself as a real agent of change, or that you have the capability to do things, you do. And I think that's a powerful theme in entrepreneurship.
Great. And where did you attend college?
So I went to college at the University of Utah, and if you ask me why I went there, the real reason is because I like to ski and I like to snowboard, and it didn't have a whole lot of academic purpose. I had a good experience there. I graduated. I made a couple of meaningful relationships there, but I really kind of went to Utah because I like to snowboard and to ski. And while I was in college is when I first started kind of experimenting with my own businesses, and it was really just because I needed a paycheck.
Okay, so how was this turning point where you, because you were taking like, you had an internship in White House,
Yeah.
and you were attending college, so if you see like your resume by that point, you know, we could see a career, you know, like someone taking a career.
Thank you.
And you know, but how was this turning point where you decided to be an entrepreneur, and how did you come up with the idea of pooltables.com? You know, that's really interesting. An intern in White House, and then like a few years later opening a pool table store.
Yeah, I think this kind of has its roots. I was dating somebody, and it was starting to get kind of serious. And one of my friend's moms, so the mother of my friend, said, "Do you have enough money to get married?" And I had never even thought about that kind of a question before. And I was scared inside because I didn't. And that really got me thinking about career in the sense that I can't just do things I'm interested in. I need to do things, I just started thinking I need to create a career of some kind. And so that got me into experimenting with different types of businesses. And, you know, getting to pool tables, you know, actually runs through 2 or 3 smaller businesses that were much more mundane. You know, I started a little marketing company, and I had a handful of people who were making phone calls and things like that. And around that time, I teamed up with my cousin, Davis, who's my business partner. And Davis, you know, kind of had the entrepreneurial bug, and he said, "Hey, we should do something together." And I said, "Yeah, we should." And we tried a couple of things. He had spent a couple of years in Bolivia, and he knew about these, you know, in Bolivia they make a lot of handcrafts. And, you know, he knew somebody that made, like, finger puppets. I don't know if you know what those are. Deditos.
Yeah, aquelas coisas de bonequinho de dedo.
Yeah, so he called somebody he knew in Bolivia, and we got a big shipment of these finger puppets. And we tried a thing where we sold roses on Valentine's Day, but it was to companies. So we called all these companies, and we sold all these roses, and it was a total nightmare. And then one day, we heard about you know, pool tables getting sold on eBay. And we were like, pool tables on eBay? This was back when eBay was getting really big. And Davis had some experience looking at manufacturing some things in China. So we said, "Man, I bet they're making these pool tables in China. We should check it out." So, you know, within, about 2 months later, we sold our first pool table on eBay. And eBay at the time was really getting big. And we got a lot of people looking at pool tables we were selling on eBay, and they started calling us locally, saying, "Hey, I saw you're selling a pool table. Can I come by and look at it?" And we didn't have a showroom or anything. So we actually set up a pool table in my parents' basement. And people started coming over to the house and looking at this pool table we had set up. And we thought, man, if we've got people coming over to a house to look at a pool table, we could probably open a showroom. So we opened a store. So we created a store.
Where was that?
That was in Salt Lake City. And once we opened that store, you know, before long we opened a handful more. So we had 5 stores in 3 states, because we sold a lot of pool tables. We became kind of the largest retailer of pool tables. And pool tables, you know, I don't know if you guys are familiar with a pool table or not, but it's big and it's heavy. Yeah. So we had to learn how to transport. It's hard to transport. We had to learn how to, like, FedEx, or how to mail, basically, how to correos.
People go direct from China.
Yeah, well, we would bring the pool tables in, and then we had 3 distribution centers. Utah, Georgia, and New Jersey, right outside New York City. And so we would import the pool tables, we would warehouse them in those locations, and then if you bought a pool table online, we would ship it to you, literally, like we would, we'd call it FedEx, but just a private courier would bring the pool table to your house, and then we had a big network of about 400 installers, and we would dispatch an installer to come put it together for you. And so we put stores in the cities where we had pool tables sitting there anyway, because we didn't have to ship it, so we already had products in there. So it was really just random, and it kept growing. And also,
did you guys raise any money with like?
That's actually that's a key piece of this story, which is we didn't really know how to raise money, and it started out with like borrowing. First of all, we maxed out our credit cards. So at the time we were young, and we could both borrow about about $35,000. So we put $35,000 each on some credit cards. Every credit card was like maxed out. Don't do this. And then we borrowed some money from our grandma. Then we borrowed some money from an aunt and an uncle and college roommates. And I mean, we really just cobbled this financing together in kind of the old-fashioned way.
Family, friends, and fools, yeah.
Mostly fools.
Mostly fools.
And, the friends and family, they did it because they loved us. They didn't know. They just said, hey, make good on this. But borrowing that kind of money, if you guys are thinking about starting a new business or thinking about businesses, financing can be a really important aspect to think about. Because what we found is we borrowed this money from people who really couldn't afford to lose it. And as a result, the level of stress that you feel, yeah, that's right. And I called my dad one day, like in the first year and a half, and I said, Dad, man, I can't sleep at night. I have this like pit in my stomach. It's awful. I was asking for advice. And my dad said, yeah, from what I understand, that's pretty much how you're always going to feel. So I hadn't really thought of that as an answer, but once I knew that, okay, I just have to learn to deal with this feeling, there was some comfort in that, but that's part of the stress of taking on that kind of financing. So, you have to think a little bit about, how you're going to feel based on the money you take and things like that.
Okay. And how did you guys do with the financial crisis? Because I think it was right at the time, yeah?
Yeah. So, great question. I remember when the Dow lost 700 points. And I was like in the middle of our office, and I'm like, who buys a pool table when the Dow loses 700 points? Because a pool table, you don't necessarily need a pool table. So some of the most valuable lessons came out of this experience. It was extremely stressful because we're selling a luxury product. People, when the economy is going like this, people tend to rethink luxury purchases. And also, pool tables have what I would call a beta, or like a relationship of like one-to-one with housing. And for those of you who aren't familiar, when in the U.S., when the economy tanked, one of the big causes was housing. So no one was buying new houses, and that's when you buy a pool table, is when you buy a new house. So, but what happened was it really put a fear in this. So I called every landlord of our warehouses and our stores, and I just called them up and I said, hey, I know you have a lease agreement, but we're partners, and the world is a different place. So we're going to do our best to pay you on time, and we need you to cut the lease cost down. So we cut every lease by 20%, full stop. And you know what? Not one landlord, so we're talking like 6 or 7 different people. Not one landlord had a problem with that. You know, I called them up, we were square with them, and they cut the lease. We had to cut some pay. We had to let a few people go.
The worst part. Huh?
That's the worst part. And that's, you know, letting people go is just, you know, makes you ill. But what ended up happening was, you know, the expression we use is cutting the fat. You know, it's kind of paring away or cutting away the pieces of the organization that you don't necessarily have to have. They're nice to have, and in good times you have it, but we cut that away, and we survived just fine. And it's a healthy business that we were able to. We sold it actually about 2 years ago.
2 years ago.
Yeah.
So it was after you went to Harvard.
Yeah. So after riding out the recession, after you know, after this experience, it was really difficult. I was about.
Which prepared you for a lot of situations.
It did. It was good learning, and I was also ready for a break.
Okay.
Business school is a big break in life. So if you want to take.
Even Harvard?
I think so. Yeah. I mean,
wow.
it's fun. You know, it's interesting. There's a lot of interesting people there. So it's a good way to, you know, I looked at it as a catalyst. It was like, you know what, I don't want to see a pool table. I don't want to play pool. I don't want to talk about pool tables. I'm going to business school. So business school is a good way to kind of break out and do something else. And so going to business school was a great experience. And Davis, so Davis, my business partner, he went to business school also. And then business school is 2 years in the U.S. So in between the 2 years, you have your summer. And what we did is, instead of going to work for a company like a bank or a consulting company, we moved out to Palo Alto, to like San Francisco area, like where Stanford is. And we just thought about new ideas and worked on starting a new business. And one of the ideas that had hit the radar was this idea of baby in Brazil. And so that's kind of what led to
Going back just a little bit,
yeah.
like, because when you see entrepreneurs, you know, they always talk about dropouts, you know, like Steve Jobs,
Yeah.
Bill Gates.
Yeah.
And you took a different path. Like, you took an MBA, you had an MBA, you know, and you went to business school. So, would you suggest to entrepreneurs to go to a business school? Do you think it was useful for your entrepreneur experience? Are you using the principles you learned there, here in Brazil, at Baby, or it was just a break?
No, it's an interesting question. I mean, there's always this debate. Do you need an MBA? It's worthless. Oh no, it's amazing. I mean, I think a lot of it's just going to depend on you. However, a couple things about going to a place like Harvard Business School. You know, it's kind of an interesting experience, and maybe the way I'll describe it is that, you know, you go to Harvard Business School, and people kind of have this idea. Some people think it's arrogant. Some people think it's aloof. But it's this idea that people are going to really go change the world. Like, they can really go do anything, kind of a thing. And I think, you know, I don't know if you guys have seen Inception. You know that movie?
Yeah.
Inception, or what do you call it here? It's the
Inception, com Leonardo DiCaprio. Alguém lembra do nome do filme? Inception. É um filme que ele muda de...
Sonho dentro do sonho, Dream Within a Dream.
Yeah. What's that called?
Incepção? Não sei se
No,
é.
it's totally different name. It's like a start.
As any other movie, like in Brazil, it's totally different.
Yeah, that's a tricky thing about living.
Yeah. We're gonna go through this part later.
So, but this movie it's the same director who did Dark Knight. You know all the new Batman movies? Same director, Chris Nolan.
Yeah, Chris Nolan.
And Chris Nolan, you know, this movie is really interesting, but the idea is that ideas are contagious. You know, ideas can be very powerful things. Now, going to Harvard Business School and being around all these people who think they're going to go do amazing stuff, it doesn't matter if they do or not. But you start thinking a little differently also. And I don't think you have to go to business school to feel that way, but if you can get yourself to feel that way, unique things can happen. Because you start believing, yeah, I can do big things. I can really go somewhere. So for me, it was a great experience of really feeling like, man, yeah, let's think big. Let's do something big. And that was one of the key criteria for the business we wanted to start.
Okay. So, and I was reading like your profile, and one of the quotations was that you went to Brazil on a vacation.
Oh yeah.
While I think, were you there? Were you at Harvard at the moment?
Yeah.
Attending Harvard.
Yeah.
And you went to Brazil and you were looking for diapers, for your son. So tell us this.
Yeah. So I mean, you know, it's spring break, and we have a 2-year-old boy, and we're gonna go vacation with some friends who have a little boy also. And at first we were gonna go to like, I don't know, Costa Rica or some other place, but my wife and this other couple, they were looking at hotels. And I'm like, guys, I'm not going anywhere that we're not in like a house. Because, you know, if you have a kid, you learn fast that vacations aren't really vacations anymore when you have a kid. Because the kid has to sleep all the time. And so, if you go stay in a hotel, what happens is, you wake up early in the morning because the kid wakes up, because he's laying like right next to your bed. And then, you know, at like 1 in the afternoon, he needs to take a 2 or 3 hour nap. So what are you doing when he's taking a nap, like in the bathroom? You're just like sitting on the bed, sitting on the chair. It's like, it's awful. And then he needs to go to bed at 7 p.m., you know? So it's like, wait, I mean, now what? It's a lot of sitting on a bed or sitting on a chair in a hotel room. It's not vacation. So I'm like, guys, it's got to be a house, you know, or something like a house. Well, my buddy had spent some time in Brazil, and he said, hey, what about Brazil? And I said, that's great, as long as we get a house or like something like a house. So, well, we found this great apartment right kind of by Copacabana and Ipanema. It was awesome. It was this great apartment, had several bedrooms, had its own like infinite like pool, had its own pool, really nice. So, all right, let's go to Brazil. So that's how, you know, we came to Brazil. And that's right, one day my wife said, you know, you need to go get some diapers. Well, what that means is a certain brand and a certain size. For us, it was Huggies.
Huggies.
And so I'm like, all right, we've been here 4 or 5 days. I've been to Lojas Americanas 2 or 3 times already. I've been to, what's the grocery store they have in Rio? Sul.
Zona Sul.
Zona Sul. Zona Sul. So I'm like, all right, no problem. So I go down there, Zona Sul, they're out. All right? Lojas Americanas, they're out. They're out? You're out of diapers, you know? Okay? So, so I ended up going to 3 stores to buy these diapers. And I would equate this with like trying to buy like, Coca Zero. I mean, this is ubiquitous stuff, right? You know, stuff that should be easy to buy anywhere. So, I get the diapers, I go back. A month later, Davis calls me, my cousin. He says, hey, what do you think about selling baby stuff down in Brazil? You know, like online. And I said, dude, you'll never believe this. But I was just down in Brazil, and there's a little bit of a supply chain issue. You know, there's a little bit of a problem. And I told him how I had to go to 3 different stores to buy diapers. So that's how the idea kind of hit the radar. And he had been talking to a Brazilian classmate whose wife was pregnant, and who was complaining about how hard it was to buy stuff in Brazil, you know, for babies. So then he called me. I'm like, man, I had to go to 3 stores to buy diapers. So that's when the idea really hit the radar.
So you always started with a frustration, you know, like you were looking for diapers, couldn't find.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Interesting. Okay, so what was the next step after you guys like had this idea? You found that there was this need in Brazil, you know, of diapers and like people places to sell diapers and baby stuff. And what was the next step?
Yeah. So we had we had written down ideas for 6 or 7 months in a Google Doc. And by the way, I'll tell you, if you have a brilliant idea, write it down right when you have it. Because it's impossible to remember, it might change the world, and you'll forget about it 20 minutes later. So we had a Google Doc, you know, like a Google spreadsheet, and I had a shortcut right on my browser to go there, and we committed to each other. Anytime you have an idea, write it down in the moment. So we ended up writing down 50 ideas, 50. And when we got to California, we very quickly narrowed it down to 4, and one of the 4 was baby. So, you know, we spent a few months working on these ideas, and you know, one day we were we got put in touch with, you know, this guy named Jose, and Jose he had started a competitor to Mercado Libre, but obviously he lost. But Jose still knew a thing or two, and he's done very well for himself. But he knew LATAM. We were interested in talking to him about, you know, more or less the viability of this idea. You know, we're still trying to understand. Like, we're not Brazilian. We don't speak Portuguese. We don't know. We're just trying to call anyone we think knows anything about Brazil. And Jose, a friend, introduced us to Jose. And we're on speakerphone in the garage because the kids are playing around inside. And so we're on speakerphone. We're talking to Jose. And Jose's like, yeah, you know, we'd love to lead around on this. Like, meaning, you know, we'd love to, you know, be a key investor on this. Now, we haven't asked him for money. He's just saying, we'd love to lead around. So Davis and I look at each other like, we're not even asking, and he's saying he wants to invest. So, you know, we were doing what I call, you know, like our homework. We were working hard on this idea. But you begin to see validation. You begin to see this could work. This, you know, in conversations, in different tests, in different kinds of ways, you begin to notice, like, I think this has some legs, or this has potential. And that was kind of a key moment. We realized, you know what? We could get this thing funded. This is probably our highest potential idea. And so that kind of, you know, that was late in the summer. And we began to really study up on the baby space in Brazil. And that's one of the secrets of raising money, is, you know, just being the expert on the space. You should probably know more about it than almost anybody else, you know, the specific space you want. So we really studied up on babies in Brazil. We learned a lot of interesting stuff, which, by the way, when we went to Rio, we were in the immigration line, like, what would that be?
Immigration.
And they came and they got us out of line. So it was a long line, and some official came and got us out of line, and we were kind of like, what is going on? And they came and got us because we had a 2-year-old little boy. So we got to cut the line because we had a baby with us.
If it was in Utah, you'll have trouble, yeah?
Nobody's cutting a line anywhere in the United States for any reason of any kind. We don't even want to let, like, handicapped people, you know, cut. And down here, there is such a love of children. I really actually think it's special. Brazilians love children more than most other people. It's really fantastic. Because, you know, if a mom has a little baby, who cares if she jumps to the front of the line? You know, it's like 1 minute difference. But it makes a big difference to her. So, that was one thing. We started learning, like, Brazilians love babies. Brazilians have twice as many friends on social networks as Americans. You know, Brazilians love the internet. They love social. They love Facebook. You know, they used to love Orkut.
Orkut, yeah.
And
terrible.
so we really just started learning a lot about Brazil. We started coming down here. And, you know, I admit, at first I was like, God, what do I think about moving to Brazil? But I'll tell you what, I really found that I liked it here. You know? I mean, you know, I don't know. A couple times I found myself in restaurants that were just fantastic. You know, and I had this great French food at this French restaurant, and it's like, why am I eating better French food, in Brazil than, like really any French restaurant in the U.S., you know? I mean, why, I kept having just these fantastic experiences. And Brazilians are just great people. I like you guys. I mean, it's just, people are friendly. People are kind. People are open. I was working on learning the language, on speaking Portuguese. People appreciate effort, in ways that not all cultures appreciate. So I found this is it's a welcoming place. It's a place that I feel at home in. And so I started realizing, hey, I like Brazil. I would love to move to Brazil. And also we kept meeting more people. We kept building our network down here, learning more about how this business would work. And that helped us to raise the money.
I like the way you explain. Reading your website, KimballThomas.com, I think you stopped there.
Yeah, I wrote like one time.
I really enjoyed the way you explained about connecting the dots,
Oh yeah.
Where you had the perfect pitch to raise money, and the way you secured the domain for the website, and the way you had like the best advisor possible, like diapers.com, I think. Yeah, so can you...
Yeah, so, Hafa is kind of referring to, I wrote like 2 or 3 blog posts.
I noticed.
I wanted to write a blog, I'm sure we've all done it, right? It's like, oh, I'm going to start a blog. And then you write like 2 or 3 or 4 times, and then a year or 2 goes by. Well, one of the blog posts I wrote was called Connecting the Dots. And basically the premise is a belief I have about raising money. Which is, because sometimes people come to me and ask, like, hey, how do you raise money for a venture? What's the trick? Or how do you think about it? And what I said is, look, the guys, the investors, they have a problem. The problem is they went and raised a lot of money from wealthy individuals, and they promised to make more money and return it. Okay? So imagine you're an investor for a moment. Let's say you raise, $100 million. Okay? Now you've got 5 years to return more than $100 million. That's a pressure. That's a stress. They need to find attractive places to put the money. So become an attractive place. And how do you become an attractive place? You make the idea that you're going to succeed very, very simple. So that the guy doesn't have to be some amazing visionary. He doesn't have to be incredibly intelligent. He just has to connect the dots. He just can see the obvious logic that you're going to succeed. So, in terms of raising the money, that's one of the things I said is, hey, you kind of need to become an expert in your space. You need to know more about the space than practically anybody else. And that just shows you're thoughtful. Just shows you're smart. Just shows you have an inkling of an idea of of what things are really like. Even though you don't, you don't really until you've done it. But you should at least do as much as you can before. And the other thing is, you want to do things that make you appear to be, well, like, how can these guys fail? So one of the things we did is we found, excuse me, we found a board member from a company called Diapers.com, a very successful company in the US that sold a lot of baby products online. And this board member made a small investment in us, and immediately we put that fact in our pitch materials. In other words, when we're talking to other investors, we tell them, oh yeah, we have a board member from Diapers.com who's investing and advising us. Really? You have a board member from this very successful company that's in the same space in the US? Yes. Another thing we did is we found the guy who owned baby.com.br, baby.com.br, and this guy, back in like 1997, bought, I can't remember now, he bought like 50 domains. William, Nomai, all these, all these domains. He never sold one. And, he's a challenging guy. He's a nice guy. He's challenging. And we needed this domain because we felt like it was a key way to position ourselves. Not only in this market when we got down here, but also with investors. Because who's going to beat baby.com.br? I mean, like what? That's just
a domain just parked? I mean, it clearly wasn't being used, or?
Yeah, it had some really basic content. You could tell it wasn't doing much. But yeah, pretty much. It was just kind of sitting there with some static content.
But he wasn't giving clues that, hey,
no,
make an offer.
No. But that's the thing. Anything's for sale. So, and, with enough stamina, stamina. Most people lack stamina. Somebody says it's not for sale, and you might mistake that as being reality. And so we didn't. We stuck with it. It took a long time. Finally, we got an option to buy the domain. We didn't even buy the domain. We just bought an option to buy it. And then we rebranded our materials. That's right. Now we're baby.com.br, and we have a board member from Diapers.com investing. The more you can string together wins before you've spent money, before you've even done anything, the more an investor can easily connect the dots. Who's going to beat these guys? They have the best investors. They have the best advisors. They have the best web property. It's not necessarily anything groundbreaking. It's just thinking about, hey, what would you really need to make it look like you were going to succeed, like you couldn't fail, at least from an early perspective. And we really, tried to do that to the best of our ability.
Okay. So you came to Brazil, you raised money, yeah? I heard that the round A was like $4.4 million.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's 4.3. 4.3.
Okay. Yeah. You came here, a lot of responsibility, and you had challenges, yeah, because this is a different culture, and
yeah.
This is a sad part of Brazil because we don't have much infrastructure, like in terms of e-commerce. You need, for example, if you need to ship to Nordeste, for example, you have like some troubles with that. And even like to open an e-commerce in Sao Paulo is a lot of like red tape that you have to do. So how do you deal with that?
Advogados. Advogados make the world go round down here, right? Well, first of all, let me say this. At the beginning, we really, we knew we needed Brazilian expertise. We needed to learn more. And that influenced our interest in an investor group down here called Monashees.
Yeah, pretty famous.
Yeah, Monashees, man, we like those guys. We really, really like those guys. They've done some things that have been very, very helpful above and beyond what any VC will do. And so we were interested, by the way, we took a lower valuation to work with Monashees because we felt like that was more important to have them involved than that. And also, we needed some Brazilian expertise on our team. And we had met a guy, you know, I mean, I talked to dozens of Brazilians over the phone. Some, you know, a lot of intros, a lot of introductions. And one guy that we had been introduced to that we thought might be a good person to hire was a guy named Ian Shea. I don't know if you guys know Ian or not.
I heard about him, but
yeah, so Ian, so, you know, we emailed Ian, and kind of how this happened is Monashees, we had been talking with them a lot. And they were like, guys. When we first got there, they were like, we don't do e-commerce, we don't do gringos. So we're like, all right, well, we came, so let's just show you the pitch anyway. And long story short, that changed. And we started having a lot of phone calls. And we got to a point where they said, look, guys, we really want to do this deal, but we want to see you one more time. And it was like December 21st.
wow.
And so it's like, you know, Christmas is like in a few days. They're like, we just want to see you one more time. So, all right. So the next day, we flew to Brazil. And we got down here, you know, by the time we got to Monashees, it was like 1 p.m. You know, crazy was. We got there, and there was, you know, Subway sandwiches all around the table. So we sat down, we ate the Subways, we ate the sandwiches, and we just talked for 4 hours, 4.5 hours, just chatting. And they had, you know, their key guys were there, and actually we didn't even talk that much about the business. We just kind of chatted about life, ideas. It was really very pleasant. And at the end, we said, guys, let's do it. We all agreed. And then we went back to the airport and flew home. But the other thing we wanted to do was we wanted to interview Ian. So we were like, hey, what if we had Ian pick us up at Monashees and drive us to the airport? And we didn't really realize asking somebody to drive you to Guarulhos at 5
don't do that.
At 5 p.m. You know, at Daisy Setch Horas. That's just, yeah, you don't do that. It was a 3-hour, it rained, so it was a 3-hour trip. I mean, I was tired. I was like, you know, laying in the back of the car, and we're, you know, and Ian was awesome. Ian just talked to us the whole time. Yeah, he's Brazilian. Okay. He says he's Brazilian, made of Chinese parts. Okay. Because you know, he's ethnically Chinese, but he was born in Brazil. He speaks Mandarin with an accent. So so Ian drove us there, and that's how we got to meet our first Brazilian hire. We hired him. And
so we did the interview in the car.
We did the interview in the car, the never-ending interview, 3 hours to Guarulhos. And he came into the airport with us, because by that time he was starving. So we got a pizza up there in, you know, at Guarulhos. And
I can imagine how frustrated he would be if you didn't hire him, you know, because he took you to Guarulhos for 3 hours.
We owed him.
Yeah,
we owed him big time. No, it's a good story now because it worked out for everybody. And Ian has a fantastic network. He knew a lot of people, and he also brought a little bit of credibility to a couple of gringos. You know, because we had to convince people to quit their jobs to join us. You know, some of our key employees. You know, one employee was the director of logistics at Walmart.
Wow.
You know, so you got to talk somebody, you know, out of, you know, quitting Walmart, joining this, you know, business that doesn't even exist yet. Ian was a great addition to our credibility, and he was a calming voice. You should get to know Ian, and Ian is, you know, you just like him. Everybody likes him. and he's got a great personality, and he's good at helping find the right people. So that was our first Brazilian hire. That's how we closed the Monashees deal, and Ian, that's how that was working really hard, and with Ian is how we recruited our key executive team.
What about Angelica? How do you guys bring her to be the face of the company? I think it was a smart move,
Yeah.
Because she's the face of the, she's a symbol,
She is a symbol. She's
for
our
families and...
Yeah, no, we say she's our CMO, our CMO, our Chief Mumbai Officer.
Well, that's a good...
And so, Angelica, is married to Lucy.
Let me just explain.
Yeah, sorry.
Angelica, ela é sócia dele na Baby.com.br, ela é como se fosse a fachada da empresa. Então ele teve essa brilhante ideia.
Yeah. Her husband, Luciano, he grew up with one of the LPs, one of the investors in Monashees. And in the U.S., there has been more interest amongst celebrities in participating in startups. And Luciano got involved with Peixe Urbano, if you guys are familiar with Peixe Urbano. Yeah.
Like Living Social.
Like Living Social, Groupon, exactly, yeah. Peixe Urbano, really had to talk him into joining, and it ended up being a good deal for Luciano and for Peixe Urbano. So Luciano was kind of like, interested in, is there something Angelica could do? And he was talking with this childhood friend of his who is an investor in Monashees. And this investor says, well, yeah, have you heard about Baby? And they started talking about it. Luciano just said, oh man, he got really interested in this. So then Monashees texted us. I remember we were down here, it was late, we were going to bed, and this text from Monashees said, hey, Angelica wants to meet with you, Luciano wants to meet with you. And I'm thinking, one, I don't know who that is, and two, we don't need a celebrity. We don't need a celebrity. But it became clear that we should at least take the meeting. So, we went up to Globo in Rio. We went to Rio, the Globo, TV. Yeah. And we met Luciano. And we had a nice enough time. We were chatting and getting to know each other. He's very energetic. And then he said, hey guys, let me go drive you around Globo. And he had like a golf cart, So we get on the golf cart and starts driving us around. Well, there was some school groups touring Globo, so like teenage girls walking, these groups checking out Globo. And they see Luciano and they go wild. They go, ah! Everyone's going wild about this guy. And so we started realizing,
it's a good idea.
These guys have some star power. So we started looking into them, and they have millions of followers on Twitter. They have daily television shows on a network that has 80% market share. We started doing the math, and we liked them. So before long, we started, we started to get interested. They were interested. We got interested, and we agreed on a deal. And so it's been great. She's a great mother. She's actually a good mother. It's not just appearances. She has 3 children, and they take their family life very seriously. They have a great marriage. They have a great relationship, and we felt like she embodied what we embodied. She was relational to us. And incidentally, in a country where e-commerce is new, and where credit cards are becoming more common, She was a great way to build trust immediately with consumers. You know, giving your credit card info, you know, online. You know, takes a little bit of courage. You know, it takes a little bit of, there's a little bit of fear there. Angelica saying, "Hey, this is me," was a great way to build trust right away. So.
Okay, so it was a great move. So you guys built a great company, baby.com.br. I believe it's one of the biggest e-commerces here in Brazil, yeah?
Well, I'll say we're building.
Building.
Present tense. We got a long way to go. But yes, we've built a great team. Really, really outstanding people on our team. And people who care. People who care about what they do. Smart people. People who work hard. And yeah, it's becoming a business of size. You know, and we have over 250 employees now.
How old is Baby?
Baby is 19, almost 20 months.
20 months and
Yeah.
250 employees.
Yes.
That's great.
Yeah. We do our own fulfillment. So out in Itapevi, we have a sede, like a warehouse. And we inventory our products. We pick and pull our own orders, and you know, get them ready to ship. And that's important, you know, because we can do it faster. We can do a better job of it. When a mom gets her shipment, you know, the items inside should be clean. The box should be crisp. It should be in excellent condition. Everything about it affects how she feels, and we can control that when our own team is handling.
Okay. Any new projects? Like, I heard about Jinda.com.
Yeah, Jinda.
Jinda.com.br.
Yeah, Jinda's great. So Jinda is, excuse me. I don't know if you guys are familiar with flash sales. I don't know what that means.
Privalia.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, exactly.
It's a kind of Privalia.
Yeah, like Privalia. It's limited time sales, 4 or 5 days. With deep discounts, you know, 40 to 50% off on you know, different brands and products. And Jinda really focuses on babies and kids' clothes and things like that. And so it's fun because Baby is a business where you have your shopping list. Like, I need diapers, I need, you know, these things. I go buy them at Baby. Jinda's more like, hey, I want to have some fun. I'm looking for some cute, you know, kid clothes for my children. And what's on Jinda today? Because it's always changing. There's always deals. And what
Brazilians like that.
Brazilians like that. Everybody likes
Everybody.
it. That's just human, right? We like to buy stuff. We like to find good deals. We like to find new brands. Moms never tire of dressing up their kids. Kids, you know, they always want to dress them up. And so the Jinda business is more about fun shopping, brand discovery. And Baby's more about, you know, your shopping list, the things you need.
Okay. So now we're going to open for questions. So, we have like 10 minutes for questions.
Can you go into a little more detail about how you structured the whole arrangement with Angelica? I mean, it's you know, some people, you pay them more salaries to do marketing for the company. Others, they want equity. They want to be partners.
Yeah.
How does that work? I mean, how much were you willing to give away? What did you see the risks in long term in bringing on board celebrity?
Yeah. It's a good question. I mean, so the question, you know, is, you know, how did we think about, you know, striking the deal with Angelica? How did we pay for that? How do you think about the challenges of, you know, working with a celebrity or risk to your brand? So Angelica, well, a couple of things. We would never have done the deal if we hadn't actually believed she was a really good mom. So, you know, celebrities can be a little bit dicey because, or I don't know, risky, or how exactly you'd say. because celebrities sometimes have a brand or a persona that is not real. It's not authentic. And so you've got to be very careful about who you ally your brand with, because, well, you know, well, I don't know if, you know, Tiger Woods is a you know, big deal down here now, but, you know, yeah, you know, celebrities implode, you know, and they can. And also, celebrities, if they're not authentic, they may not be a true representative or a true ambassador of you. And so, the fact that Angelica was a good mother and had a good marriage to Luciano, to Luciano, it was very important to us, because we said, hey, here's a mom. You know, here's a mom like the moms we want to serve. And so that was part of it. Another part of it is startups don't have cash. Startups have equity. And so I don't know how you would do a deal with a celebrity when you have somebody who is, you know, Angelica is an A-lister here. And so that's a very expensive, you know, she has deals with P&G, you know, or big companies that pay millions of dollars. So to be able to have the kind of currency to do a deal that addresses their market value, there is no way to do it outside of equity. And for us, and you know, this is just kind of how you got to think about it. For us, we kind of thought, hey, look, we want to be aligned, and we felt like alignment should, you know, ideally would include skin in the game. In other words, they should invest. They should become investors. So we struck a deal that involved equity and gave them the opportunity to invest in us themselves. And we felt like that was a good way of getting on a page where she got compensated and we were all interested in seeing us succeed.
So the compensation was monetary, or she has to do certain things? Is that like promote, market, or there's actual physical salary?
So, I can't get into the ultimate specifics of the exact compensation, but I'll say it was equity-based, and that the equity was in exchange for image use and some time. And the time gives us the opportunity to engage her in ways like photo shoots. We had a mommy blogger conference, blogueiras de mamães, you know, like women who write about mom stuff on the internet. And we had these mothers come, and we had a nice breakfast with them, and you know, it was a networking opportunity. And then we had some presentations on child development, and we had a little panel, and we had 4 moms on the panel. And you know, one mother talked about learning to deal with diagnosis of autism. I mean, really mom stuff. And Angelica came to moderate that panel and to talk with moms. And we didn't push products. We didn't push, you know, there was no selling going on. It was really just trying to build community. And the fact that we can call Angelica, and she can come to Sao Paulo, and she can moderate a panel, and she can hang out with some moms and talk about mom stuff. That's something we get thanks to the fact she's our chief mommy officer. So you have to think about ways that the celebrity can actually push your brand forward and do authentic things. And that's what she did.
Yes. Alguém quer perguntar?
I have a question about the website itself. My question is, have you ever thought of allowing user reviews on your website for the projects? And if yes, why not?
I mean, yeah, I'm screaming for it. I'm dying for it. I mean, it's one of the key values that we can offer. And unfortunately, this is one of the challenges of building your own technology. We are just simply waiting for the tech team to build this functionality. So it is coming. It's very important to us. It's a key way for you to be able to find good stuff, to find quality products. And I wish I could give it to you today, and we're working on it hard. And like a lot of things we're working on, and it just takes a little bit of time. So yes, stay tuned. And when we roll that out, we'll make a big deal of it. And please write, because we need opinions.
I bought on baby.com, and I've gone back to write a review on the product I bought, but I'm like, oh, I can't.
That makes me ill. Hearing that makes me physically ill. We'll do it. Stick with us. We want to build the product that you want, and we will.
Well, I'm not a user of Baby about the code.
Well, get busy.
Let's see, maybe in a few years. So my question will be a little bit more general. What was your greatest aha moment? Where you thought, man, I always thought my life was going to be like this, and I'm going to do this, but wait, it's not the way to do it. I can do better, or a quote you heard that just changed your whole mindset.
Yeah, that's an interesting question. Well, I can tell you this much. I didn't tell anybody I was selling pool tables for months. Because I thought it was so weird that I sold pool tables, I didn't want to tell anybody. So I had years to get over the idea of, is this my life? Because I sell pool tables, I had never thought I would sell pool tables. So there was definitely some, I think I accepted years ago that I'm more interested in kind of key opportunities than in predefining my career, if that makes sense. Some people say, okay, hey, I want to be a doctor, a noble profession. So for them, they've got to go to medical school, they've got to do a residency, they've got to specialize, they're going to go to set up a clinic somewhere, and they're going to, they've like mapped out this medical career for 30 years. I don't know what I'll be doing in 10 years. So that's something that I got comfortable with a while ago. I don't know. And incidentally, my wife has gotten comfortable with that as well. And that's important because she didn't think we'd be living in Brazil a few years ago. That's just different. So she's with me on that. So I don't know where I'll be in X years is, I think, a key thing to embrace. And as far as an aha moment, man, I think I have those almost every day. Every day I believe, kind of like this product reviews. Oh, I so believe we're going to get these product reviews out soon. And we're always looking internally for new things to do, new ways to serve moms, new ways to build this business in a meaningful way. And I think that's part of what I like about entrepreneurship is, man, we're having those moments all the time. And I think you really just have to figure out, how do I put myself in a place where I can have those experiences on a day-to-day basis.
Acho que o nosso tempo se encerrou.
We're done.
Yeah, we're done.